When I was a little girl, I dreamed of going to school. Then I was forced to become a prostitute at age 13.
Sex trafficking is a modern-day form of slavery in which a commercial sex act is induced by force, fraud, or coercion. Individuals are taken at times across countries against their will and sold into sex work. The underground system that dictates how these victims are found, transported, abused, and sold is highly organized. Because these individuals are taken across countries, sex trafficking is considered a transnational organized crime. Victims often end up in sex trafficking because of circumstances that include, but are not limited to, traveling to other countries under the false pretenses of work, being sold sometimes by people the victims know, being kidnapped, or being deceived.
So I left my father's house to find work. When I arrived in the big city, a woman said she can give me a job at her house. I was very happy to have some work and a place to stay. But at this woman's house, men would come. If I tried to refuse, the woman would beat me or shock me with electricity. And there was always someone watching, so I could not escape. In this house, I was one of 15 girls.
Once caught in the tunnels of the sex trafficking system, the victims are trapped, forced to work because they have no other source of income. They could be beaten, threatened, drugged, or killed. Essentially, they're stuck.
When I was a prostitute, I was required to have 15 men each day. If I did not, I would be beaten and refused food.
So why does sex trafficking occur? Oftentimes, it occurs because of reasons like profiting and faults within a country's legal system. From a feminist perspective, one could argue that the majority of people trafficked for sexual exploitation or subjected to forced labor are female. According to researchers, both the supply and demand sides of the trade in human beings are fed by gendered vulnerabilities to trafficking. These vulnerabilities are the result of political, economic, and development processes that may leave some women socially and economically dependent on men. Gendered vulnerabilities fostered by social and institutional weaknesses in some societies, discriminatory laws, and practices that tie a woman's legal recognition, property rights, and economic opportunities to someone else make women more likely than men to become trafficking victims.
The lack of rights afforded to women serves as the primary causative factor at the root of both women's migrations and trafficking in women. By failure to protect and promote women's civil, political, economic, and social rights, governments create situations in which trafficking flourishes.
As part of the civic responsibilities we all share as voters, members of a jury, and citizens of the world, it is important for us to recognize the forces that seem to breed the behaviors of sex trafficking and take action to reduce the amounts of women and children that are lost to this terrible crime.
This is the story of my life. I am now 24, and I am dying from AIDS.